What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage here. I am interviewing two special mortgage professionals. Adriel, how you doing, bud?
What's up, brother? How are you, man? Good to see you.
Good, man. It's good to see you. It's good to hang out with you at Mastermind, and it was fun to meet an apprentice of yours.
Yeah, man. He's quite a hoot. So
yeah. So this interview was inspired at a conversation that happened at Mastermind 2019. I saw Adriel, who's a top loan officer I've talked to many times. I can't believe I've never officially interviewed you, and we need to do how and why you use a mortgage coach. So that'll be part 2 of this.
All good.
But he's got a loan officer that he mentored. It's been about 5 years since he started mentoring him. This mortgage professional has been a full-time loan officer for almost 2 years. And AK, welcome to the Mortgage Coach community, buddy.
Hey, man. Thank you very much, Dave. Dude, awesome hanging out with you over there in Mastermind.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the way you approach me, your energy, it's like part of my why. Like, why do I create content? Why do I do interviews? It's to help people like you get after it. So thank you for being one of those people that have, you've got a sustainable career as a mortgage professional because you followed Mortgage Coach. I guess we were one of your learning tools, which we're going to talk about. So Adriel, let's talk about first why you use Mortgage Coach, and then let's talk about the story that we had on just how AK learned mortgage business and how Mortgage Coach has helped him get after it.
Man, it's been a huge learning tool. One of the things about Mortgage Coach, I've been using it since I don't know, early. I was doing this since '99, so I don't know if this is probably the first tool I probably ever used when we were on CDs and books and stuff like that. Yeah, during call waiting.
We're dating ourselves way back in the day.
But to me, it's been an OG tool. So to be able to grow with Mortgage Coach over the last couple of decades has been fantastic. It's huge for me, and so I felt like a natural progression to be able to teach the people that I've taught with it. We use it as a consumer tool, obviously all day, every day. Let alone now you transition it to be able to teach that next generation. It's honestly been huge for us. I think Akshay can probably talk a little bit more about kind of how we started and kind of that transition of how he came in just as an intern from UCR and talk about that. He tells that story a lot better than I do. But,
So tell us that story. Tell us how you started using Mortgage Coach and how it's helped you develop as a mortgage professional.
Yeah, of course. So when I met Adriel, I was looking for an internship. I was in college, I was in finance, and I was trying to find something to do. And I ended up stumbling upon PRMG, and they had an internship that had just opened up where you're able to go through all the different platforms, processing, underwriting, all that kind of good stuff. And I ended up meeting Adriel in retail, and we clicked like that. Like, we were just having a good time. We were chatting for a little bit. We were laughing. And I was like, oh man, I want to be around this guy a little bit more. So I ended up becoming his marketing assistant. He hired me on, and I was learning a lot from him. And one of the things that he was teaching me was kind of how to distribute what kind of programs and what kind of products go that match with what kind of, buyer. And the way that he kind of did that was with Mortgage Coach. I'd never seen it before in my entire life. Obviously, I wasn't even thinking of mortgage as a career path until, I sat down with Adriel for a while. And with Mortgage Coach, it was interesting because we were able to really dive in. And the way that Adriel taught it, and this is kind of like props to him, was he was more of like a hands-off kind of, I'll let you figure it out. I'm learning. I've already talked to him about all the products. I've been taking notes and all that kind of stuff, and I've been around it, and we've been funding, hundreds of loans at this point, and we're trying to figure out exactly how we're going to go about teaching me. And he goes like, well, here's a buyer. Here's his 1003. Look at everything over, and then I want you to give me 3 products that you think and put it in a TCA of what you think are the best options for him. And so, I'm wrapping my head around kind of figuring out exactly how to put this together. Like, oh, this guy's got $500,000, he's putting $100,000 down. Probably going to go conventional on this one, so I'm going to put that one in there. Maybe if we figure out a little bit of difference in the down payment, that might help them keep a little bit of capital. Maybe we can reinvest that into another property, and like just kind of going in that route. Being in that realm, it kind of keeps you thinking and being a little bit more creative as well. And so with that, I would just go back to Adriel. Hey, Adriel, can you take a look at this? and he would tell me like, hey, you messed up here, you forgot this, you didn't do this, or hey, I don't know if this product is perfect for this guy, but I think maybe this product would be, or it would be like, that's exactly what I would do. And it ended up being just like a great tool for me, and I couldn't live without it in the industry now. There's no way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a takeaway for everybody is that we've got to go beyond being a transaction provider, and we need to be an advisor, and we need to provide families with a transformational game plan. Like, hey, here's how you can build wealth with real estate. It's not just about programs. So Adriel, kudos to you for using it as a learning tool. And that, that's what got me to say, hey, I want to interview you, because you learned on Mortgage Coach. You've, just the way you came up to me, you've obviously watched a number of our YouTube interviews, and that's been a training piece. So Adriel, how do you still use anyone else to help you with your TCAs, or how are you creating your total cost analysis today?
I have an assistant and an LO partner that helps me as well. And so I have them, between the both of them, I've been able to just hand it right off, and they're able to at least get me to about 90% of it. Then once I get in there and I get in for game time to present it, I do my final cleanups and I present. And it's all I use.
So if I remember right, when you and I, well, we've talked a number of times over the years, but we were in the process of bringing our, Spanish version of Mortgage Coach. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at you like, hey, did we get it right? And you were also one of the first in the Mortgage Coach community that you were recording, a number of the total cost analysis in Spanish. Are you still doing that?
Absolutely. Because that's the thing is I think that there's a misconception out there, at least within the Hispanic community, that's like, okay, well, as long as you tell them the payment and the down, then they're good to go, and that's all kind of like everything else is TMI. I think there's a level of education you have to give our clients and not just of course Hispanic clients, or Latino clients, but everybody. So why not educate everybody? And there is a level of a little bit of TMI sometimes, depending on the education level. Because obviously, if they only know Spanish and that's the only way they communicate, there might be some educational limits there. So I don't want to get overly deep, but absolutely the graphical. I like it because there's the graphics with regards to the charts and whatnot. That's very clear to them. Hey, look. It's not just because I'm telling you. It's not just because you trust me, which is a big part of the being in the Latino community, and as it is with Akshay in the Indian community, and I can go on and on. But once you have that trust, you're good. But to be able to throw the sauce on it be able to say, hey, look, really, there's $150 difference between this one and this one, or there's this bank that showed you this kind of payment. This is really what we're showing, and I think it's going to be good for you in the long run. You tie that in with just an embedded trust, you're golden.
Yeah. What about the idea of showing the power of prepaying the mortgage? Because I think everybody, we don't get loans because we want loans. We get loans because we want homes, and at some point we want to be debt free. We want to own that home without a loan. Do you show the power of prepaying the mortgage?
The reduction, absolutely, and it's and that's prevalent in any kind of culture. But the best mortgage is really no mortgage, right? And that's usually the way I've always sold it. To people, say, hey, how do we get rid of it? And how do we get rid of it faster? And especially now that we're in a little bit more of a refi environment, many of my conversations have been along the lines of, hey, if you're comfortable making that payment, let's reduce your rate, but let's keep that payment. Let's keep it going. And now if we do that, now let's get this thing knocked out in 26 years, 24 years, whatever that math is for them, again, is golden, and that's, especially, and then kind of full circle to kind of how it became a teaching tool with regards to Akshay. It's very easy to think, like, for example, you have a $200,000 loan, in maybe the high desert or something like that, and it's 0.5% difference. Wow, everybody thinks, oh, 0.5% is fantastic in savings. You look at it, it's really only about $50, right? Because the loan amount's so small. Then you start getting into the logistics of, is it really worth it? And I've always told my clients, I've told people I've taught, you never want to refi for fun. You never want to do a loan for fun, right? You want to do it because it's going to be a benefit to you, to the client, to whoever, of course, it affects. So that's how I've used it in the past, and I think that's how I've probably taught this guy too.
All right, well, here's what we're going to do, guys. So Adriel, I do want to set up an interview with you and do a full, how you're using Mortgage Coach, how you're delivering options to different types of families based off of different financial needs. If you could forward me one of your total cost analysis that you think, or if you would send me a couple, they're just good representations of how you're providing advice and education, and we'll put those down below. Let's transition the rest of this, to Akshay. To let's talk about AK. What are you saying to the family before you deliver the total cost analysis so it has value? And then let's pull up one of your TCAs, because this is part of a series called Mortgage Strategies at Mortgage Coach. And so I want to get the high level story here, and now I want to get into some specific mortgage strategies.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you frame that conversation, and then I'll share my screen and we'll walk through one.
Yeah. So, a lot of the times, a lot of my clients, what I kind of found when I've started talking to them is like, you break down all these numbers, but there's no way for them to really retain all that information at one time. It's a lot. When you just say like, oh, it's 400,000 here with $20,000 down payment, you got 4.5%. It's just so much right there, like in just one scenario. And then when I'm talking to them, I'm going, hey, you know what? I actually have a really great way of you being able to see everything that we just talked about, understand it on a very, very clear and concise level. And it looks pretty. There's graphs, there's colors. It's a good way for you to keep focused. I know that I'm a visual learner. So I'm going to do a video alongside it, and I want to make sure that you guys can see everything that I'm looking at, and you guys are able to understand it the way that I understand it. And, when you kind of break down closing costs for them, they're a lot more calm about it, because a lot of lenders that I've seen that don't use Mortgage Coach, they don't necessarily talk about closing costs. That part gets lost. They're talking about the loan, they're talking about the down payment, maybe they're talking about the rate, and there's a whole area of closing costs that's gone. And on the other side of it, sometimes there's multiple programs, multiple things that people are that sometimes are going to fit with someone else. And so when I'm trying to explain it to them, I'm going, hey, I can talk to you all day about why FHA might be a better option for you than conventional, but I'd rather show it to you. So are you okay with me sending you over a quick breakdown that I do? It should take, 5 minutes for me to create a good one for you. And then you guys just go in there, take a look at it. I'm going to do a video and then walk you through it. And then we can get on a phone call and talk about it while you guys are going through it too. And for the most part, everyone's just like, yeah, that sounds awesome. If you could break it down for us, we would really enjoy that.
Got it. So you call this a breakdown. I'm going to forward you some options of breakdown. Do you call it a total cost analysis? What do you, what is your scripting?
The scripting on it, I say, I'm going to give you a breakdown of all your options that I think are the best for your particular situation.
Okay, Taylor. And then let's walk through this. I do want to call out to everybody, notice company brand here, your personal brand here. You have options here. I'd love to know, as you walk us through this, how much do you get into this? Do you click on the more information screen and get into closing costs? So kind of walk us through as though we're a consumer of yours, and give us, like 3 minutes of what it feels like to get advice from you with Mortgage Coach.
Yeah. So is the screen showing right now? Like where the total?
I hope so. That's the plan.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So the way that I'll go about
it, do you see it, by the way, on your side?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, good.
So the way I go about it is, for the most part, I think this one was for Joey. So, I'd start off with it. Hey, Joey, I just wanted to do a really quick breakdown for you, show you a couple of the options that we were talking about. I know that this way you're going to be able to absorb the information a lot more, and you have a chance to play around with it, kind of go inside, check out your closing costs, see what you're really paying for inside of there. So I want to start off with that first option we were talking about. And this one, I had a co-signer on there. It was either he was going to go on it or he was going to go on it with his wife. And so the reason why, we ended up going with the wife was because we were able to add more income. They wanted to up their amount that they could qualify for. But she had a lesser, FICO score. So I was kind of breaking it down between the difference of conventional, or if we were going to go FHA, because he was 780, she was a 660, so it's a big disparity. And so I'm going, hey, this first one's going to be in a cosigner with you and your wife. If you take a look, that interest rate there is going to be around 4.5%. And the payment is actually a little bit higher than a few of the other options. But this way you get to have your wife on the loan. It's going to be kind of a little bit different than what we were talking about originally. I'm trying to put my head back into where we were at. And when I transitioned over to the 395, and then I remember now because he was worried about how much he wanted to put down. You know, they wanted to keep more money in for themselves. They wanted to keep more money for furniture. And so that's why the that FHA option was there. And so we were talking about, you know, FHA was going to be 3.5% down. We couldn't necessarily do 3% down on that particular property because it wasn't home ready. So that was a 5% with a seller credit on it on the next one, and said, okay, look, if we do 5% down, 395, we're looking at, you know, putting down a little bit more, but your payment's only going to go down by so much. So really, if we kind of navigate it correctly, we can use the same amount of cash to close, almost exactly the same, 2,000. The difference in your payment's only going to be about $70, but you're going to be saving close to about $8,000 or $9,000 up front in down payment because we're doing 97%, 3% down. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of like trying to put my head back in this one. But
this is the one you closed a couple months ago. I remember that.
Yeah. So this is a little bit different. So okay, so now I remember. So the first one is the 97%. The second one's the 95. Third one's the FHA, and then the fourth one is going to be a rate buy down. So I wanted to show them kind of what the difference is on those things, and we were kind of playing a little bit with seller contributions, with putting a little bit more money, having the parents kind of give money too. And so when I go inside and I click on the closing cost details and any of that stuff, a lot of what I'm doing is I'm kind of I want to show them and be really transparent with them, because I feel it makes them feel a little bit more at ease, because these guys were more, you know, sensitive about how much money they were going to come to the table with. They were worried about furniture. This is the first house they're buying. You know, they have 4 kids. They wanted to make sure that they had enough money in the bank for a rainy day and all that kind of stuff. So we were trying to make sure that we stayed under a certain amount of money, which was $23,000. And so every single option here that I had with him was in that realm of, I want to make sure that we stay in that realm of $23,000, but we hit all your key points of a lower payment, lower money out of your pocket, and you guys still walk away with keeping that amount of money in your bank account that you're comfortable with. And so
my takeaway is, so you gave them options and you gave them transparency, and you did it in a way that was shareable, you know, because there was a father-in-law involved, I think you said, that might be loading a down payment. And so, you know, anytime you give transparency, education, and make it so it's shareable, that multiple people can be in on the decision, the better. Adriel, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to add 2 things. So one thing I would have done differently, and is number one, I always try to do it through Edge Live if I can. Now I'll record the screen, you know, just to have it as a backup, but I like to do it as Edge Live. But one thing that I've been doing a little bit more recently is, number one, I don't punt the link to them until right before our meeting, because I kind of don't want them to review it without me kind of holding their hand, you know, through it. But the other thing I was doing was, or I've been doing, is that I would have it on 2 screens, right? And I only put up the option that I'm talking about. So you know how you can on the analysis part, you know, you have like this, you want to show 4 options. I just click the one. I'll talk about that one, and then, okay, well, it refreshes pretty darn quick, you know? So once I'm done kind of talking about that one column, okay, I'll check the next box. I say, all right, now let's compare these 2, and then 3, and then 4. Because what I've seen sometimes, again, depending on the personnel that you have, you know, you throw them 5 different options at once, like, what the hell what am I looking at, you know?
I remember you were saying that.
So being able to kind of walk them through the story. And then ultimately there's there's going to be 4 options. You can see them all at the same time. But the fact that they can focus on one at a time, that's just how I've been doing it recently. And it's been kosher. It's been really good.
What percentage of your clients are coming into your office versus those that you are delivering a digital experience?
Everybody's been digital. I mean, 1 out of every 15.
What about you, AK? What percentage are coming into your office versus over the phone and digital?
I'm probably a little bit less than Adriel. I'm like 1 out of every 20 are coming into the office. I mean, I meet up with them in the initial consultation, but when it comes to the mortgage coach, like the actual stuff, like I'll get their documents and stuff in person, but when it comes to actual presentation, it's generally done, like I'll call them, or we'll do like a Zoom call or something like that, share my screen, and we'll go through the whole thing, you know, together.
Okay, cool. So a couple things, guys. I had interviewed Shayla Gifford today,
Yeah, that was
You
great,
know,
by the way.
because
She did
oh,
fantastic.
did you see that? Yeah, I
I
mean,
saw
it
about, I
was
saw about 10 minutes of it, but it was fantastic.
yeah. So I'm going to put a link down below to that. She did a just unpacked her perfect pre-approval experience. Now she meets and her team meets with a lot of folks,
Mm-hmm.
but she delivers the mortgage coach experience, whether it's in person or digital. And then you got to remember, if you did meet with someone, the story started. You know, they left your office and you know they're looking at different homes. The story changes, and it's digital. So I think it'd be a good homework assignment. I'm gonna put it below. Adriel, I literally want to get off this call. Let's schedule me interviewing you, and let's just go through a digital mortgage experience live. You know, how you deliver is close to an in-person experience using digital. So let's, do a high touch, high tech interview on that process.
Sounds good.
Send me an email, send me a time. So first of all, guys, I like to get questions. So if you have questions for either one of these professionals, put those down below. To me, both these mortgage professionals epitomize high touch, high tech. AK, I love how you're doing social media. I checked out your not LinkedIn, your Instagram before this. So great job. I mean, the way you're using video, anybody listening to this, check him out. I'll put a link down below. The guy is getting after it with social media. He's working hard to deliver an educational experience in person. Anything either one of you guys want to cover before we wrap up today's interview?
Yeah, I think that a lot of like we were saying, like you can use it to teach consumers, like for using Mortgage Coach, first off, just like for one person, or if you're trying to teach an LO, there's also that third option of you can record a video and you can kind of make it educational for all of your clients, or like make it a wide open, kind of video where you're really kind of teaching someone a few different things. Like I know I did one that was like a now versus later, and I kind of blasted it out on Facebook, and my realtors really took to it. They loved the presentation behind it because there was just like the graphs and the numbers, and obviously the new version looks really, really pretty versus the legacy, and so like they take it a little bit more. It's like the UI is a lot more friendly, and so like they love it. They love it. And then the consumers as well. Like I got a lot of good conversations from it, because people don't necessarily think that we have access to doing something like that because they don't always see it. They're used to their bank. Someone tells them something like that, and then and then you show them options or things that they've tried to grasp and understand in a clear and concise video where they can kind of keep on going back to it. And it's more of a general video instead of just more geared towards a certain person. I've seen that worked a lot for me personally when I post that out on Facebook. I even put it on Instagram ads and stuff like that. And just all because Mortgage Coaches, it's pretty. It's really good looking now. And it's for sure something that I think is going to be just something that's going to absolutely help if you start getting more creative with how we're pushing it out.
I love that. And that's an initiative of mine. We've worked hard to make it, visually more pleasing and easier to consume on social, so whether you're putting a link to a TCA in comments, it visually comes up, so it's more clickable. And then I love what you're doing, how you're putting video around it. We're seeing a lot of members just take a screenshot of it, put some content to a picture. And anything, you want to share in our Facebook group, I'm going to post this in YouTube and on our Facebook within the next couple of days. And if you want to share an example of what you just talked about, put it in comments or share it in the group. What about you, Adriel? Anything else you want to cover?
Well, the only thing I wanted to add in the context of what we're talking about is that, it's no secret, and you talk about it all the time, we got to be careful not to be commoditized more than what we already are. And I think that as we groom this next batch of originators, I think it's our responsibility, frankly, to groom them in such a way where, hey, look, you can still be high tech, high touch as well, and don't just fall into the commoditization of what's going on with our industry. And I think if you do that with intelligent kids, with intelligent people that understand, that have good communication skills, which is not everybody, by the way, in this next generation, right? But if you got somebody with good communication skills and is smart, I think that's one of the things I think as originators, especially higher producing originators, when you start making that decision of, man, okay, well, I only got so much time in the day, and by the way, I got kids, by the way, I got a wife, by the way, I got to go to this, go to that. How am I going to pour myself into, frankly, my competition, my future competition, or something along those lines? Some people can have their brain around that. I totally get it. My opinion is, okay, I think it's okay if you bake it into somebody that's smart, that's got great communication skills, and has, I think, the right attitude. If you can find somebody with those three things, I think we did a good job with having Akshay and pouring into Akshay like we did, because I think that's the kind of kid that you can pour into and be very proud of kind of what's coming out of it, going into the future. For the context of this call, that's what I want to add.
I love that. And I want to remind everybody on this call, if you're not active member of our Facebook group, it's Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind. Get in there, be active. Our YouTube channel, this is going to be part of our mortgage strategy interview. So there's almost 50. There's 47. This is the 47th mortgage strategy interview. Check these out. If you're new in the mortgage business, I would just tell you watch every one of them. Not because they're my interviews, but because I'm interviewing awesome people. And then I do want to remind you, as a teaching tool on our website, we have Mortgage Coach Strategies. And this is where we've taken what we think are some of the better interviews. And within each one of these, if you were to click on any one of these, you're not only going to get an actual interview, you're going to get scripts, and you're going to get links to the total cost analysis. So this is a move up buyer analysis, great interview with the top producer, and links to the actual total cost analysis. So as an educational tool, since we're talking about getting smarter and getting better, also every single day of the week, we're doing live training. So there is someone live helping you every day of the week get better as a mortgage professional, as a mortgage advisor. That's what we're here to do. So guys, you have killed it. Great interview. Hang on, I'm having a hard time stopping sharing my screen. So for whatever reason, it's not letting me stop sharing my screen. I know.
You need someone like me over there, and call my brother in India and help you out.
Oh, there it is. There's my stop share button. I like to connect face to face. Yeah. So guys, appreciate you, AK Next Generation. Please share a couple examples of how you're killing it out there, and keep sharing mortgage coach reports. Adriel, thank you for helping bring up the next generation using the Mortgage Coach platform to do it. If you got value from this call, guys, like it, share it with your mortgage friends, and look forward to interviewing you both again in the future.
Yeah. Do you think I can add one last little nugget before you close it out?
Bring it.
This is for just like the newer guys and everything like that, because a lot of what I did when I was learning with Adriel was I was kind of following along with your stuff on YouTube. Same thing with like listening to mortgage, podcasts or anything it is, like all the interviews that you've done that are like hour-long interviews. People don't want to sit through that stuff, but there's so many little nuggets in between every single one that you can kind of piece together a lot of how you want to build yourself as an originator, and whatever kind of speaks to you as a person. You don't have to try everything, but things that you think that you can do are the things that you should go out and try and do, because it's going to actually come and bring you business because it speaks to you. So watching those interviews absolutely helped me with my productivity and my production and everything like that thus far.
Yeah, it's cool.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for taking the time and taking action, watching the interviews, put it into practice. Take care, everybody. This call is a wrap, and till the next one, guys.